Hello, and welcome to the stream today. Starting it a little bit later than I planned because the time just flew by today as I was working on some of this stuff. Looking at. So we do have the item cloud working group today. And I've got another meeting in less than an hour. But in the time that we have, I want to talk about some of the things that we're working on, especially with pop create item. So let's just dive right in. I also had to reboot my computer before I could start the stream because my kernel had an update today and my GPU drivers are out of date and OBS didn't like all that. So air PyCharm. And it looks like you can see that. Cool. So close out of this. I've been working on this project called Pop Create Item. It's an extension of Pop Create. So if you look at, I need to look at the Twitch chat. Sorry about that. One second while I open up the chat so I can see everyone's comments. Okay. Chat is awaiting new messages. Okay. If you sent a message, I might need to see. Oh, I don't need to see it again. I can just go over here to talking. No one sent any messages. Perfect. And I am now watching for new messages. Yeah. So if you're familiar with Pop Seed from the Pop project, the script automate, let's just see. I would be able to make a new directory. Taco is my throwaway name. Taco. And I would be able to say Pop Seed. And it would create the basic of a Pop project for me. That's what Pop Seed did. And then David Boucher separated Pop Seed into its own project called Pop Create. So then Pop Create. So now with Pop Create, I can say Pop Create -n foo. A few things are different now with Pop Create because Derek and I have been adding features to it like mad. And this is what it does now. Now it'll tell you to please fork the Pop Awesome and open a PR listing your new project because we want to be aware of all the new Pop projects. It also adds a ton more stuff. It will set up CI/CD. It'll set up the skeleton of docs, so it's really easy to know where to put releases, release notes, and where to put, different topics like your quick start. This is what the original Pop Seed would create. Is this? We now add an Apache license file by default, and if you read that license file, it now uses the current year, and it reads from your global git config to figure out what your name is to put here in the copyright. So that's fun. Create some Nox files and tests.in. So we're using Nox and pre-commit now out of the box. So I can say pre-commit run-av. I need to make it. And when I run my first pre-commit, it'll generate different requirements files for every Python version. That is very specific. That's part of Nox, that's part of Pedro's magic that he does, is it just makes it so that that the tests, we can make sure that the tests run exactly the same on every Python version. So that's one of the things that's added with the new pop create. The run.py is a little different now for new pop projects. We now say if name equals main instead of just calling the start function straight away. And instead of having the code in scripts twice, once in the run.py, once in the scripts.py, we're just importing it from the scripts.py. Setup.py for pop create isn't too different. Again, it's reading author from the git config and my email from my global git config. Other than that, nothing's really different here. So it will also set up tests, which it'll give you a basic conf test.py for integration tests and for unit tests, which will set up a mock hub properly, and it'll give you a basic test in pop, so that when you create a new pop project, if you've never used pop before, it's like we are creating everything you could possibly ever need for pop project. Like you've got CI/CD, you have docs, you have Nox set up from the very get-go, and you have unit and integration tests. You don't have to figure all that out. You don't have to read through my documentation. You can just hit the ground running. So the other thing about pop create is that it's pluggable. If you don't specify a subparser when running pop create, it'll do all of the core things. It'll do CI/CD, doc, seed, and tests. But you can run pop create in an existing project. So I could say pop create -n item Azure RM and say I want to add just docs. And it'll only add the docs to your project. Or let's say you just want to add CI/CD. It'll only add the CI/CD parts of the pop create script. And if you try to do it again, file exists error. If anytime you run pop create for CI/CD, for docs, for seed, for tests, and one of the files that pop create is going to write, anytime one of those files... Oh, my terminal is hidden. Thank you. I did not realize that. So anytime you run, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you. I've been showing so many things in my terminal. So here we go. Anytime I run pop create, and it's going to overwrite a file that already exists, it will throw an error. So right here, if I run pop create, file exists error, target is not empty, and it tells me the first instance of a collision that it had. So to show that again, since let's just run that pop create again. If I run pop create without specifying a subparser, it creates everything. It creates docs, CI/CD, conf.py, a license file, Nox file, a README. It does everything. And then running my git init, add dot pre-commit run -av. This will run black on my code, and it will do a first pass on making sure that my test requirements are the same, exactly the same for every Python version. So running that again. And now if I run pop create -n foo again, file exists error. So there's no damage doing this in a folder that already exists. So you can easily run like pop create -n item measure rm CICD, and this would only do the CICD part of pop create. Or I could do that for docs, and it'll only do the docs part of pop create. So if you want to use pop create on an existing pop project to add CICD or docs or tests, then you can do that. So that's what we're getting out of pop create. Now what we're getting out of pop create item, which is another project, is we're able to pop create, for one, is pluggable. All of these are subcommands, and I can dynamically extend these subcommands with a different project. So over here in pop create item, we have the ability to automatically create an item cloud project. So now with VMware, I'd like having my button for doing this. I have a new cloud called Taco Cloud, which doesn't exist, unfortunately, because it would be awesome. So I'm running pop create, and then I'm specifying my subparser as being item cloud. The name of my project is called item taco, and this -i says that file exists error, ignore it, and just overwrite things. It's okay for me to do that in a test, in an empty project that I'm overwriting constantly. And I'm telling it which directory to put that in, and that's it. So what this does, if I delete my taco project, and I run my taco cloud script, apparently I need my year to be string. Sorry about that. Where is that? There. So now when I look at my taco folder that I just deleted, I have an item cloud project created. So this is what an item cloud. Let me push that pop create real quick. It's gonna bug me if I don't. cd python pop create. Recklessly pushing the master. Okay. So these are all the things that when I ran pop create with the item cloud parameters, this is what it created. The CI/CD, like I did before, tests, my requirements. Only my requirements now has item and AIO files. Have been AIO HTTP. Anyway, wait, I can fix that. I'll probably forget later. Item cloud templates base.txt. AIO. Okay, we're good. So anyway, back to what item cloud created. It created an account plugin for basic auth with documentation strings. That way, it's really easy if you want to figure out how to write your own account plugin. I now have for Taco Cloud, taco.basic auth. I've done substitutions to make sure that this plugin actually works right off the bat. You have access to your own auth plugin for account. super easy to get started with. And also in exec modules, we've made it so, this is a weird itemism that enables account profiles that begin with talk code to have us to. This enables account for Taco Cloud. Having this in my exec taco init. So this is necessary, and yeah, it's just a weird thing that I have to always tell people to do, and it's complicated, and so it's nice to have it just automatically created so that way no one ever has to think about it. The same thing exists in states. And then a tool directory, your conf.py that extends all the right things, none of the wrong things, and a README. You also get a README that tells how to use account with your new auth plugin, and tells basic usage of exec modules and state modules for your new cloud project. So the goal with pop create item, this project, was to make it super easy to get started with item cloud. Like all of this, you don't have to read any of the documentation. If you're using pop create item to start your new cloud project, like when we make Alibaba cloud or Tencent cloud or, whatever cloud you want, you can just start your project with pop create item and you don't have to think about any of this stuff. You can just go, you can start writing exec modules and state modules and, to just focus on the fun stuff and ignore all this nitty-gritty stuff. That said, one other thing that I'm trying to do with pop create item. So this is a work in progress, but I want to parse an open API spec or a Swagger spec and turn out exec modules automatically based on an open API spec. So what that would give us is I want to be able to give detailed doc strings with type hinting and with all of the possible arguments and their defaults. I just want to have all of that automatically generated for exec modules. So you don't even have to think about writing exec modules. You just have to write states. And then the other thing I was looking at is actually writing states for item cloud is also something that we can't automatically do, but I can get most of the work done. So this is my example of this is my sample state that I was working on before the stream started. Must have used obiet. Can we not see anything? Wow. Oh, I've been describing so many things. I clicked on Firefox instead of full screen. And so I'm so embarrassed. How long have I been just talking and no one's been saying anything? Wow. Whew. It's a Monday. It's a Monday for sure. Take a breath. Take a breath. And of course, I was so excited that I was just going without watching the stream over here, the text. Okay. So this is what a sample state module looks like. Right here, a sample state using the sample exec modules for an idea of what a state module should look like. A convention, all states should have a present and an absent function. Nothing else. Yeah, that's really the purpose of states. We've talked about that in the cloud working group, like when we were talking about what kind of conventions we wanted to set for the cloud. Like some states have a present, absent, and an update function. And now we're just doing present and absent, and present also updates. So let's look at these real quick. Let's look at absent first because it's It's super simple, and absent, we probably could automatically generate absent states because they don't really change much. I'm saying if name not in, this is going to be replaced with the name of your cloud. Like if it doesn't exist, when we try to list the resource, then comment it's already absent and pretty much return right after that. Otherwise, let's grab that object for our before state. If test flag was given on the command line, then don't actually make any changes, and let's just comment that this resource would be deleted. Otherwise, let's call the exec module that deletes that resource, comment that we deleted it, get the changes, or get the state of the cloud after we've performed our delete operation, and report the changes, that it was a success, and return all of that in what Idem expects a state return to look like. So this could actually be, I'm pretty sure this could be automated. Deletion doesn't require much configuration. It's just calling whatever your delete function was in the cloud. I could probably automatically generate absent states and then expect the user to, or the developer, to maintain them or tweak them after they've been auto-generated. And then for the present state, it's a little bit more complicated. First, we list the resources and we check if the resource we want to create already exists. If it already exists, we comment that it already exists and pretty much return immediately, reporting that no changes were made because before and after are the same. Result is true, yada, yada, yada. If it doesn't exist, then if test equals true, then we're going to say, hey, this would be created with these arguments, and then return. And then we're going to, if we're not in test mode, then we're going to actually create the thing, say that we created it, and now we're going to get what the instance looks like after we've created it. And this is where the heavy lifting comes in for any cloud, is writing the state modules that are idempotent. Now we need to look at this my instance. We need to look at this resource, and we need to make sure that it has all the parameters specified in its state file. And so it's going to be a lot of calling of the different exec modules that we've automatically generated. This is going to be, this is where all the work needs to happen. This is where we're going to need help with every cloud. But exec modules, absent states, even most of the present state, all of that can be done by a script. We're just going to need, we need humans to do this part and the actual testing and use. So that's where we're at with pop create item. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions, comments, arguments, or rebuttals? Does it sound pretty awesome to have code that writes code, or does it sound super problematic? I don't know. Well, does anyone have any thoughts on this, on all of this? And rambling. Giving a moment for thoughts. It is pretty hard at first. We're hoping it's even harder when you have to do all of this without, like, there isn't very much documentation on Idem Cloud. I mean, Nick has written a couple really great blog posts. We have a lot of cloud working group meetings talking about this stuff. But if someone wants to get started with Idem Cloud, which with VMware, we really want to start doing VMware stuff in Idem Cloud. We want to start really building a community for Idem Cloud. And to do that, it needs to be easy. If you have to read a book on creating Idem Cloud, no one's going to just pick it up. So the purpose of pop create item is to make it super easy to get your own cloud. My goal would be to make it so that that anyone could just run pop create item cloud on an open API spec against an open API spec and just have exec modules. Without having to do any extra work. That's my goal. And I want to document that. Super easy and fairly inconvenient. Lofty goals. And then what we would gain from that is if we come at something like, let me actually open Firefox. If I look at something like VMware's IaaS API, I want to be able to parse something like this. And look, I have all these paths. So this is something I think I could automate creating item for. If I was doing this by hand, it would take months, or it would take a whole team of people to do this. And there are so many. If I look at all of VMware's API, I have it on one of these. These are all of the different resources, all of these different lists that I would have to create an item wrapper for. And it's kind of, we were thinking of the automatic generation thing when Derek and I were kind of looking at this list and being like, well, no. We're not going to handwrite an item module for all of these resources. But they all use a Swagger API, or they all are documented with OpenAPI 3. And so if we can just automatically create the exec modules and most of the state modules, then like just having exec modules for all of these resources and every cloud, for all the major clouds, Azure, for AWS, GCP, then we can have a unified command line tool for interacting with every cloud. So you have AWS CLI, you have an Azure CLI, Google has so many different CLIs for GCP, but if we could have a unified tool, a standardized way of interacting with every cloud, that's what we get out of the box by automatically creating exec modules for every cloud. So that's our goal. Right now I'm just looking at different parsers to figure out what the best Swagger parsers, or what the easiest and best way. Like Swagger has a code gen. That's one of the things I was looking at here. Let's see. Because I thought that Swagger and OpenAPI 3 were a one-to-one mapping, but they're not the same. And when I put this Swagger doc, because this is a Swagger 2.0, when I put this into an OpenAPI 3 parser, it blew up. So that's where I'm at right now, and that's why I don't have a working example of automatically creating exec modules right away. There are many tools for automatically making stubs, client-side or server-side stubs from OpenAPI 3 docs. So my goal within pop create item is to, for exec modules, I want to have multiple plugins for generating exec modules from OpenAPI 3, from Swagger, what have you. I want pop create item to automatically create exec modules. Whew. And it's very doable. We just need to do it the right way. That's where we're going, and that's what I want to talk about in the cloud working group meeting that we'll have today in an hour and 15 minutes. So please do participate in that. We haven't had cloud working group meetings in a while, and I'm just hoping that it's I'm hoping that there will be excitement in the cloud working group for pop create item. I'm hoping to write some documentation. I am writing documentation. I am writing documentation on all of the different tools in Idem Cloud. So talking about account backends, account CLI, account plugins, defaults, exec modules, Idem CLI, Idem Cloud, popisms, recursive contracts, state modules, and tool plugins. So in this pop create item, this is kind of where I'm making my one-stop documentation for Idem Cloud. And not only is it your one-stop documentation for Idem Cloud, it's also your tool that can automate most of the writing of Idem Cloud stuff. So anyway, any questions? Again, thank you for your comments, Scriptotomy and Levy in the chat. It makes it feel like I'm not just talking to myself. Yeah, so I had finished these states and I was going to, let's see, I was at a point where I wanted to have sample documentation here. That way when I wanted to just put one state file and one exec module, when you run pop create item to create something like Taco Cloud over here, all you have is this init.py with nothing in it. And if you're creating a new cloud, I want to have a state and an exec module so that it's not totally so you're not left in the dark about what to do next. Cool there. So I'll get back to this later. Now let's look at what documentation we have. And this is something I am not a languager. So if this documentation get improved, and it definitely can be, tell me. So I'm gonna go over this real quick. This is the documentation I already have for pop create item. I also released a version 0.1 on PyPy. Pop create item. Oh. Pop create item. So this is that same documentation. PyPy. So let's see. First, install pop create item. This is an extension of pop create that is designed to easily create boilerplate code for Idem Cloud projects. Our snippet pip3 install pop create item. You now have access to the pop create command with the Idem Cloud subcommand. Yeah, because you could just install pop create and it gives you seed, doc, CI/CD, and tests, and this adds a new subcommand. So, showing what this looks like, then create. I already used taco sometimes. Taco 2. Then taco 2. So pip install pop create. Now if I run pop create help, these are the parsers I have access to. CI/CD, docs, seed, tests. But if I run pip install pop create item, now when I run pop create help, it says I have access to CI/CD, docs, exec.openapi3, and Idem Cloud, and seed and tests. So this is an example of dynamically extending subparsers. Directory, my path to the project name, item dash, whatever the name of your cloud is, dash simple cloud, and then just the simple cloud name for your cloud. This isn't necessary. If you name your project item dash my cloud and you don't give the simple cloud name, it'll just assume this is the simple name of your cloud. A new project will have been created with all the boilerplate code needed to get started with Idem Cloud. The directory tree should now look something like this. I gave a dump of what your tree should look like. Install your new project with pip. It needs to be added to the Python environment. Added that qualifier there because you don't necessarily need to install it with pip. You could also just add the project root to your Python path, and it would also go up on the hub after that. After installation, the new item cloud provider execution and state module will be accessible to the pop hub. You can verify with pop tree. So you go pip install pop tree and run pop tree exec add sub item, and it will, let's run that real quick. Pip install pop tree. Pop tree exec add sub item. Oh, I didn't actually use this to create a new project. Pip install home Python projects taco. Okay. That's embarrassing. Vector taco. Cool. Doesn't mean there's no thing tool. Oh, I know why. Let's install this in editable mode. That way it keeps my empty directory around. There we go. So now we have it shows that my taco init pile init was added to the hub. Let's put this in the documentation real quick. I don't have that yet. We won't have it. Yeah. And I've specified that this will be the output of that command, because obviously it was. So, without further ado, this is going to be a really short stream today. I'm sorry that we didn't have the 10-minute warning and a fun intro song. I was just really caught up in writing the docs here because we really got to get this done. Yeah, I really like Pop Tree for app merge projects because it shows a really easy way of showing how the app merging worked and showing if it actually worked. So I'm liking Pop Tree. I'm going to go just PyCharm for a second so I can check Slack messages. Let me check. No one said anything. No one's saying anything in chat. I wonder if there's a connect the chat, the Twitch chat to a channel in Slack. That'd be interesting. Anyway, it is a windy day today. The wind has just been howling and howling. So, okay, let's keep looking at this real quick. We have 5 more minutes before I have a meeting. So we've looked at this. Now authenticating with item cloud. Edit the file at project name /account /simple cloud name basic auth.py. This is where you can customize authentication to your cloud. Create other plugins in this directory that authenticate in different ways to the same cloud. After installing item with pip, account exec and state modules will be like I have my preposition and then I have a list, and so the commas really are not intuitive here. I'm not a languager. And will be accessible to the POP hub. In order to use them, we need to set up our credentials. Create a new file called credentials.yaml and populate it with credentials. That sounds really dumb. Yeah, this is why I need a tech writer to come here and edit this file. The default profile will be used automatically by item unless you specify one with account profile equals profile name on the item CLI. There are many ways. AWS. Providers and profiles can be stored. See account backends. More information. To account backends, which is actually an out-of-date project, but why is this? Huh. Now encrypt the credentials file and add the encryption key and the encrypted file path to the environment. The command should be available as it is a requisite of item and item ESP. Yeah, this documentation is just a Frankenstein of all the different places I have talked about item. And then we give an example of using the account command, which is different from the previous iteration of account. We now say account encrypt credentials.yaml. And you can also run account decrypt credentials.yaml. And the idea here is you can delete the plain text credentials from your system once you've encrypted them. But if you need to make a change, you need to be able to decrypt it and have a plain text version again. So now I have account encrypt and account decrypt. So that's nice. So add those to your environment, which I've already said to do up here, but now I'm giving an example of how to do it on the Linux command line. I'm not good at writing documentation. Idem will now be able to read these credentials for authentication to your cloud. Yay! And then we talk about, let's see, functions placed in exec/simple cloud name will appear on the hub under hub.exec simple cloud name star. Oh, and my punctuation makes this confusing. The directory structure under exec is arbitrary to item. So use it to keep your functions organized. Do not put all your functions in one giant file. Please do not do that. That's horrible. That is not very pop. The directory structure affects where functions are placed on the hub and how they are referenced on the CLI. I feel like I just said that up here. This is how I've described it at a high level, but I gave my example first. Yeah, I really need a tech writer. Help me. If you create a function called get in project name exec simple cloud name / instance, it can be called from the hub within code like so. exec.simplecloudname.instance.get. It could also be called from the item CLI like this. The profile you want to use from your encrypted credentials file can be specified in the command line when calling an exec module directly. The default is to use the profile named default. Like you've already said that too. And we get an example of specifying the profile state, and then we're done. Whew. So that's everything. I've got to go to another meeting now, but I hope, wow, with my scatterbrain and things not showing up properly, I really hope that you're able to get something out of this, and it was, this is where we're going with Item Cloud. I hope that that direction is clear now. And if you have any questions, hit me up in Slack. We'll talk about it in the Cloud Working Group meeting in an hour. And so I invite everyone to participate in that. Join the community Slack if you need a link to it, or look at the Salt Stack or the Salt project calendar. Let me find that real quick. Slack community calendar. I'll post a link to it in the Slack so that everyone can see. Here's the community calendar and 11. I'm not sure where the cloud working group shows up in here. Oops. Let me see. Item cloud. I am not sure. I don't know where I can find a link to Item Cloud. Okay. So I can't find it on the calendar website. So just if you're in the community Slack, then that's where you can find the link for the Zoom meeting for the Item Cloud working group in an hour when that starts. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for participating, everyone. And oh, there we go. Looks like Derek has the actual link there for us. Thank you, Derek. And I will see everyone on Wednesday. Have a great Monday.